Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, I'm gonna approach a topic I've mentioned many times, but I always try to when I bring these things up. Part of the reason I do this so many times is because I think it's important that this message gets out there. Not everybody's gonna see all my other videos. And also I try to approach it from a different angle. And it could be simply because of a comment or question that I had come in. So for example, I had somebody that came in and said on my, I think it was on the video that Patrick and I shot back in 2018 about what we did to go off our medication that we were taking for hypothyroidism. And I just wanted to put the information out there and share with people how we did it. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to come in and say, make some blanket statement. In this case, this person said, well, it's all about the liver. It all comes back to the liver. Well, in this case, I can honestly say that was definitely not the case for us. I do tend to take issue when there's a lot of blanket statements in regards to people's health. So somebody learns something and maybe that something actually did apply to them and is true in their case, but that doesn't automatically then mean that is the truth for everyone, because everybody's going to be different in what they need and what the underlying issues are that are causing either their hypertension, their low thyroid, their hyperthyroid, their diabetes even. There can be many different reasons. And so you hear a lot of blanket statements, especially in more recent years, that, oh, it's all about gut health, which I believe in a lot of cases, yes, that's true, but that is not always the case. Here's another example. Someone who's anemic. Oh, your blood count's low, you need iron. Not true. And I'm standing right here as someone who can tell you, as one who tends to lean towards anemia, but the reason I'm anemic is because of my Mediterranean descent, which has that blood trait of thalassemia, meaning that I easily can get too much iron, and too much iron has the same effect as not enough, and it can make you anemic. So making blanket statements, whether it's by a doctor or just some random person or a blogger or a YouTuber, I think can be actually quite dangerous. And so whenever you hear people making blanket statements, I always recommend do your own research and learn about it for yourself and what you and your body needs. So if you have hypothyroidism, if you have some of these other ailments, or you're just looking at bettering your health, make sure you know all sides of any one issue before you start jumping in and doing something like taking high doses of vitamin D3. And a few years ago, I did a video on this. Why, this is just pushed. Everybody needs 50,000 or more IUs of vitamin D3. And now, just as I predicted back then, the truth is coming out that you can get too much D3. And maybe there might be that individual that does need that much, but that much is not going to can be way too much for a good number of people. And a lot of the side effects of not having enough D3, you'll get those same side effects when you have too much. So let's say your hair is falling out. Oh, you need D3. So you start taking D3, your hair stops falling out. Or maybe that person's like, my hair is falling out, and maybe it's falling out due to just high stress. So you start taking a lot of high quantities of D3, you start losing even more hair. Too much D3. So the side effects can be the same. And it's really important to understand this and again do your own research. It's why several years ago I put a video out on how to do your own research, and it's just very general, but specifically talking about health and how you can look things up, because sometimes, especially if you're new to trying to figure out how to look things up, aside from just having some good books on hand, sometimes no matter how many books you have, it can still be hard to find some very specific information, and knowing how to look this stuff up online can be very helpful, but you cannot trust just one site. Just like that one doctor that's saying, nobody should be eating eggs, nobody should be eating peanut butter, nobody should be eating fruits, nobody should be eating grains, nobody should be eating vegetables. These are all very blanketed statements that do not apply to everyone. In fact, I would say a lot of those very blanket statements apply to very few people. Some people need to cut out dairy. Some people need to cut out eggs. Some people need to cut out grains. But that doesn't mean everybody should do that. Everybody should follow the vegan diet. Everybody should follow the carnivore diet, and et cetera, et cetera. So each individual is going to be unique. And that's why I just get really irritated at blanket statements, because I think it can put people in a really dangerous place if they're only just listening to one side of any issue. I don't care if that person has an actual PhD. They're still going to go by maybe just what they've studied and or what their opinion is. And every single doctor out there, even the strong health related ones that might try to veer more towards natural care, naturopathic care, they all have their own opinions that I don't agree with everything they say, because they make blanket statements as if it should apply to everyone, and it's just simply not true. I mean, let's go back in history just about 20, 30 years ago, or longer, maybe 50 years ago, when, everybody was saying that salt is bad for you. Well, it depends on the kind of salt. Everybody's saying you shouldn't eat high cholesterol foods. Well, it depends on that cholesterol. Cholesterol is necessary for our brain function. Salt is necessary to our whole body function. But people were saying this. Oh, and let us not forget, in the 90s, fat is bad for you. Fat is what makes you fat. Not true. What did we find out maybe just 10 years later? By going fat-free, a lot of people were gaining weight. So there has to be a proper balance in everything. The important part, even with seed oils, is where are these things coming from? How were these things harvested? How were they grown? How were they raised? How were they treated? Are they full of glyphosates, and are they GMO? And these are the questions you have to be asking, instead of assuming that one whole food group is bad, or that this particular supplement is something you need to start taking in high doses. That includes magnesium. So we're probably going to find out in the near future that all this high doses of magnesium, I'm not saying you shouldn't take magnesium. What I'm saying is people are just like, oh, everybody, so-and-so said everybody needs more magnesium than what they're getting from their diet. So they start taking high doses of magnesium outside of its proper balance within foods that are already high in magnesium, calcium, potassium, things that work very well together and properly. We're going to be finding out the problems now associated with taking too much magnesium, just like we did with taking too much calcium outside of its natural form, where it's not properly combined with magnesium and potassium and phosphorus. So anyway, I just wanted to get this out there again, because again, I think this message is just too important to ignore. And as many different ways as I can say it, many different people can hear it, I think the more educated people are going to start becoming, so they can actually take proper care of their health rather than overdoing it or underdoing it on the necessary foods, nutrients, and more. So any thoughts you have to share, please put those in comments down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.